All right, and we are live, NDI November. This is week 3, the final week. I'm going to remind everyone that on Thursday we're going to have the inventor of NDI, Dr. Cross, on the show. Can't wait for that one. But today, I'm super excited. We have Jake Fineman, product specialist over at BirdDog. Now, we know Jake for years because Jake was basically the sales specialist, workflow guy in the United States, and he's gone on to a bigger and better role. So before we get to the show, tell us about what you're doing now for BirdDog that's so exciting.
Sure. Hey, Gary, it's great to see you. A lot of exciting things. I mean, here at BirdDog now, I'm helping redefine the industry standards for remote video production, right? So that's everything from a hybridized connections between site to site, content distribution of video across the globe, live and in real-time control and aspects of all of our video production ecosystems. So it's really taking this whole connected video verse to a new level. So I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Today's show, how NDI is growing beyond the local network with BirdDog Cloud. People, you're going to be so excited. We don't really have PowerPoints today. Today's show is really going to be a conversation with me and Jake, and more importantly than that, it's going to be a demonstration-led show. But we do have this one PowerPoint. This is kind of like the outline overlay of the whole show. Now, guys, I don't know if everyone knows the history of BirdDog, but BirdDog was the first partner to actually use hardware for NDI, where everyone else was using software, and they had hardware. First it was encoders, and then it was in their cameras. And they're also really leading the way of taking that NDI architecture and everything they've learned from being in the converter business, being in the controller business, adding SRT and other IP formats, that they've really grown to what I think is the most affordable, functional cloud solution there is for remote IP NDI-based productions. And it doesn't have to be NDI, but NDI just makes it work even better. So Jake, I want to pull this up full screen if you can go over it a little bit. We're going to talk about easy product content, remote sources.
Absolutely.
Routing and managing videos and audio point-to-point, controlling remote PTZ sources, built-in production tools like multiview, recording SRT, file transfer, remote access, protocol independent, the cloud in general. But really what this show is going to be is basically Jake's going to be doing some demo stuff. And while he's doing that demo stuff, I'm going to interrupt him every now and then with questions about what we're doing. So Jake, to start the show, because this is all being done by you and remote stuff, tell us physically where you are right now.
Sure. So right now I'm in Monterey, California. And yeah, we're going to jump into the entirety of all of these points, right? So BirdDog Cloud is huge, right? It's a complete holistic platform for you to easily produce and receive your content and distribute it wherever it needs to go. So it's essentially, like I said, down at the bottom, it's a warp tunnel for video and audio, right? So we have our streams at one location and we need to beam those over to our production station, right? So that's our production control rooms running TriCaster, VizRT, Wirecast, OBS even, and vMix, right? So being able to bring those streams wherever they are in the world back to your production control room is incredibly advantageous for every single remote video production that's happening right now, right?
So right now where we are, if you're on the BirdDog Cloud, you have to have endpoints. So right now an endpoint could be my TriCaster. It could be a laptop running vMix or OBS. It could be a laptop just running other applications directly to be on the cloud. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about some future stuff that's coming as far as endpoints. But endpoints shouldn't be scary. It's not like you need special hardware. I mean, the TriCaster is a hardware, but basically if you've got a decent laptop and a decent internet connection, you can set up an endpoint around it, right?
Exactly. So endpoints are our BirdDog Cloud software, right? So it's easily to install on a Mac, M1 or M2, and now M3s, which are really exciting, onto that TriCaster machine, any Windows machine, and even some Linux instances for those server guys. It's just our location. It's essentially saying, I need this physical space to be able to have inbound and outbound access to my content. Right. So yeah, we like to install those on TriCasters. We like to install those on separate machines. So that way we can have TriCaster running the show and then another computer receiving and distributing all those content feeds. Right.
Now, one of the things about the cloud that we've done a lot of shows, we've got a couple weeks of NDI November, and there's different flavors of NDI. There's NDI HX3, HX2, there's full NDI. It doesn't matter with the cloud, right? The cloud like does the translating up in the sky for everything to talk to everything, correct?
Totally. So there's a little bit to that, right? So we have NDI floating around, and like you said, we have full bandwidth, we have HX2 and 3. All those sources are floating around on our local network. So to reliably stream that across the public internet, right, or across a VPN or whatever that connection data is going through, we flip that into what's called SRT. So we do that with our cloud endpoints. So that's happening on the ground. Right. So along with your local streams, we're taking those videos, converting them to SRT, and then sending them H.264, H.265 across that link. And those that are not familiar with SRT, it's secure, reliable transport. It's a way of, it has forward error correction built in, and there's a lot to it where whatever we transcode on one side, as long as there's a healthy internet connection, it gets decoded on the other side. So we can verify that we have our content streams coming in, and then be able to produce the show with high quality video and audio.
Awesome. So this is the point of the show where I'm going to step back a little bit. Jake's got a whole little demo going. So I want you to first explain to us what that demo is. Then I want to ask you for a quick question, little demonstration. I think will really open people's eyes up. But you can show us what you've got going first.
Of course. So let's just talk about it for a little second, right? So in an endpoint scheme of things, I'm here in Monterey. So I have my cloud running on a computer in my studio here. As you guys are familiar with, we have the BirdDog support office. Oh, do you want to jump in?
No, I'm counting. I'm counting the endpoints.
Awesome. So we got one. All right. So I'm here at my receiving location where I have my vMix machine, and I'm going to be pulling in streams. We have our BirdDog support office, which also has an endpoint online. Right. So from there, we have access to all of the cameras in BirdDog support, whatever they're plugging into their switches. I can see what's there. And then we have their entire NDI network available to come back to me in Monterey. And then I have a few other streams that are going up to our cloud, which is called Cloud Connect. So that's where we can view those content streams on iPads, iOS devices, web browsers, and really take it to the next level. So let's jump in by pulling that stream from Auburn Hills, Michigan, down into my production control room.
Cool. And while you're doing that, Jake, one of the things that you said is, so if I'm like the technical producer or the director, if I have an iPad or a laptop, I could be monitoring everything that's going on in my own little BirdDog Connect cloud and have full access to not just what the guy's producing, but every single source that's
whatever
on that
feed
cloud.
And source that's needed. I mean, I was just talking with a couple of guys this week where we can do custom multiviews through that Cloud Connect application. So I can set up my 2x2 grid. I can send another producer my 3x3 so they can see all the sources that are live. And we put tally information over that. So the entire team knows when, the stream is live or is about to go live, right? It's incredible the kind of workflows that are coming out from what's required from a remote participant, right? Whether they're adding content into the production or they need to receive the production feeds.
And I could be the director. I just want to look at, we have 17 feeds, but I only care about 4 of them. So you could just send me the 4 I care about. Whereas another guy may need all 17 and someone else may need a different 6 or 10. And you can control who sees what. And if I want something more, I can ask you and get it. It's not eliminated from me. I'm just getting what works best for me to be as efficient as possible.
Completely.
Cool. I'm going to let you roll the demo. I'm going to shut up now.
Let's jump into it. So I'm going to pop on over to the BirdDog Cloud interface over here.
Cool.
Right. So this is a web browser, right? So we're jumping in through Chrome to hit BirdDog Cloud. This is where we orchestrate all of our site-to-site connections, right? So what does that mean? We have all of our endpoints on my left-hand side. So I have my Auburn Hills support endpoint. I have my Monterey endpoint where I have feeds coming in and out from. And then I have a few instances up in the cloud that are receiving these streams to distribute them wherever they need to be. So BirdDog Cloud can be installed in the cloud. It can be installed on-prem, and it can be installed on those remote sources, right? Those laptops that are out in the field or wherever that's cloud is installed.
Very cool.
Right. So like over here, I have my MacBook Air that's online, and I don't have any streams coming into it right now, but I can create streams wherever they need to be, right? So let's jump into Auburn Hills, right?
Yep.
if I jump over here to my outgoing connections, right? So let's produce this vMix production, right? I have streams at that location that I need to pull back to my production control room. From cloud, we have a lot of options. I mean, realistically, we can go right to YouTube via RTMP if we wanted to. But for this demo, I'm bringing in that stream back to my production control room, right? So I'll jump into my cloud SRT connections, and right off the bat, I see all of the streams that are available on BirdDog supports local network, right? So we love that quad. So that's where we have our streams 1, 2, 3, and 4 coming in.
We're going to talk about that quad later.
Yes, we will. We have some P120s, some PF120s on the network. We got our friends over at the Stream Dudes. This is Stream Dudes vMix machine, which is perfect for running cloud. Having its content, looks like we got a TriCaster, right? So whatever the feeds are from any of these sites, as long as it's NDI, and as long as my cloud is on the same network, we can pull that stream.
Very cool.
Even excitingly, we can pull in Blackmagic Decklink cards, right? So if we want to go directly from SDI into a Blackmagic card that's running cloud, we can pull those streams directly.
Cool.
So yeah, that's a fun little one, right? So let's say I want to grab this camera. So we select the camera, and then we get to select the target endpoint. So this drop-down menu gives me all of the locations that I can stream into, right? So if I wanted to pull this into my Monterey, I can pull this into my Silicon Valley endpoint. I can, wherever the location of the production studio or the recipient needs that feed, right? From here, we can give it a display name, right? We could call this support cam, right?
Yep.
So that's like what shows up.
IP virtual router.
It is. It's exactly what it is, right? So it's a web-based orchestration layer for us to send our stream site to site.
So cool.
So, I mean, I'll quickly say that, like, in a way, it's very similar to NDI Bridge, right? Where we need to send our content from one location to the other. But from here, we get to take it to a completely individual level, right? We get to specify what streams need to go to and from each site. We'll get into the nitty gritty, but we can choose the bandwidth per each stream, right? So you're not reliant on a huge pipe that wants to pull a ton of feeds. You can really fine tune that type of connection. And then that whole multi-view layer and engine that we have built in, where having this software on-prem really takes whatever your production to a new
Jake,
level.
Riddle me this, Batman, okay?
Yeah.
I've got 16 cameras on the multi-view, and I'm checking everything out, and I'm noticing, when we set up this one camera, it was really cloudy. Now it's bright and sunny outside, and everything's blown out, and my colors are there, and I want to use that shot so badly, but I know I can't. And I see this on network TV all the time. I just want to, like, strangle someone, especially when the guy sits in front of an open window where
and
when they set the whole thing up, it was dark. Right?
Absolutely.
So now
we've all been there.
Yeah, right? I'm that TD director, and I'm like, we got to fix this. So I call down to you through comms, or I send you a note. You're my technical director at the head of the cloud, and can you now fix that camera for me?
I can.
Show me the money.
Let me show you what that looks like, because it's really incredible. It's because not only do we have these feeds coming in and out, us at BirdDog, we put in that control layer, right? So all the BirdDog user interfaces that we all know and love from our cameras, that have now come to our converters with the new NDI 5 update. We have control over those through the site to site, right? So let me pop back over here.
Cool. Let's take this full screen and watch what he's doing, guys.
So let's check it out. So over here, I'll edit this. Where do we have that stream coming in? So here's our BirdDog Auburn Hills camera that's coming into my production control room.
You right now.
Let's do this.
See, it's the beauty of live. There we go.
That's what happens when we're live, right?
Yep.
Cool. So we'll pop back over to the computer.
Yep.
I'll give you just a quick wide shot right now. So I'm pulling that stream in. right? So here's my Sony reference monitor that has a BirdDog decoder plugged in, and we have that stream coming from Auburn Hills into my production control room.
Auburn Hills,
And
Michigan, into Monterey, California, correct?
yes, totally. We're going across the country, Gary.
A couple thousand miles, no big deal.
Nope, no big deal, right? And then you're gonna love this. So what I'll do is I'll open up Studio Monitor, right? We can see that we have our tally information because that streams live. And we have control. We have PTZ control, right? So I'm here in Monterey and I'm controlling this instantaneously, right?
Love it.
Right. So we have that control data that we're pushing through. But you're right. What happens if that cloud, moves away and we need to brighten up the scene, right? So we create that site-to-site link. We jump into our BirdDog Cloud icon that's running down below over here, right? Looks like it's a little hidden by my pencils, but right, we'll jump over this, go into our Bird UI connection.
Love it.
And it opens up on the port number that SRT connection is going through the web interface of our camera, right? So if I go back to my wide shot so we can see both the web interface and the camera stream, I'll pop on over to my cam control page inside Cloud. Just quickly, let's say we needed to change that white balance, right? We have full white balance control across that link, right? So we'll put that back to auto white balance because it takes care of that just fine. Right now, let's see, I'll make this a little bigger. We're in shutter priority. So if I wanted to flip that over to manual, right, that's a little bit too bright. If I open up my iris, we can, obviously that's a little too overexposed. So we'll stop that down a few steps.
Now, Jake, the enemy of any remote workflow is latency. And to me, you're clicking this stuff and I'm seeing it almost instantaneously. And I know I'm bringing you in on a feed. This is just remarkable because I'm looking at, it's hard because I'm a little delayed, but I'm looking when you're clicking on something and releasing it, I'm seeing there went from, the light blue to the clear picture. Boom. I mean, that is amazing.
Right. That's like what, half a second, not even, right?
Amazing.
And we can check this out. So if we pop on over back to the cloud interface, we give you stats on this. So I'll show my details. And so I'm pulling that stream in. This has been live for, let's say, about an hour or so now. So it's been about 4.8 gigabits, right? And here's my round trip time. I have 77 milliseconds from Michigan to California.
That's incredible. That's certainly, for what we're using this for. Obviously, I'm not trying to do a live sporting event, and I'm not saying you couldn't, but I'm saying people with sports worried about latency, but that is a very acceptable latency, and it's really remarkable what you can do there.
It really is. And actually, one of my favorite projects that I've had the pleasure of working on and help scope out is a sports production. So let me give you the story about this, right? So there's a production studio in New York. They do collegiate baseball, right? Mm-hmm. Collegiate baseball and softball. They're producing an event from New York in their Manhattan office, and they have all the fields are across Atlanta, right? They're out in Georgia. And they're pulling those streams in wherever they are back to their Manhattan office. They're using our BirdDog A200 cameras. So 3 or 4 of them are set up around the baseball diamond, right? Get a good shot of the players and whatnot. They have a BirdDog Cloud machine running in the dugout, right? Or wherever they can put that computer. Those feeds are coming into their local network. That way they can distribute that content locally, right? There's concession stand videos and whatever that needs to be displayed, right? They have access. It's all IP and it's all local, so they can do whatever they want with their NDI streams. But then what takes it to the next level is that it hits their BirdDog Cloud computer, streams back to Manhattan, and then now they pull those streams right into their production control switchers. Right. So whether they're using TriCaster, whether they're using vMix, or going back to baseband with our converters or a Decklink card, they're able to produce these shows remotely. And
this is all over the public internet.
This is all over the public internet.
So
they don't have a private pipe.
The two biggest concerns I get when I talk to people about video production on the cloud, number one, we address with latency. Number two is security. As a content creator, my content is my world, right? How do I know that someone else can't get on and get into it? And I'm not even
Right.
saying like they wants to hack it and mess with it. I'm talking about I don't want them taking
Anyone.
my camera shots without my permission and me getting a little royalty or something for that baby.
That's right. Of course. So what we do with that is inherently in SRT, it's secure, reliable, right? So we're encrypting that with AES encryption, right? 256-bit if you'd like to, and no one's getting into those streams, right? That it's all point to point. Unless you hit BirdDog Cloud, it is all BirdDog Cloud Connect rather. It is all point to point streaming, and even then, it's point to point over WebRTC. So we have a few options of how we can do a one-to-many stream, but again, that's an opt-in, right?
Yep.
That's a way for you to say, all right, Gary, we need 20 different people to have this multi-view instead of just you in that example, right? So now that's a one-to-many scenario. And from there, that protection layer goes to a password, right? So you have to have the password to get into the stream, right? So even if you have access to the app and the account, you still need your password to view that Cloud Connect stream.
Very, very cool. So
Yep.
What else do you want to blow us away with, Mr. Jake?
Let me show you some web browser stuff.
Cool.
So this one's fun, right? So I have a camera.
Perfect. Yep.
I have a camera shooting out my window from Monterey, and let's pop on over to it. So we'll go to my Monterey endpoint.
Which
right?
happens to be one of my favorite places in the world. So I'm very jealous of
Oh,
looking at this view.
Oh, it's so fun. I love it around here. And if anyone hasn't been, it's definitely one of the places to check out. Yeah, the nature over here is insane, and so is the whale watching. So if we pop on over to
Jake, while you're setting that up, I got a question. Someone sent it in. What kind of uplink and downlink speed do I need to have to do the stuff that you're showing us?
So it's completely customizable, right? So I've run productions even on cellular internet when someone said that they had IP on site, and I go there with all my camera and my gear. Luckily, I had a cellular bonded connection, but I was still able to do 3 streams with 20 megabits up, right? Which is kind of expected from, I guess, home and residential internet, because that's usually where the connection or that question comes into play, or for hotel internet for like conferences and things like that.
So like when someone asks us, I pretty much tell them you need a minimum of 25. You're saying you can get a little less than that. And I say, really, get yourself 50. If you've got 25 to 50, you're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I personally like to have headroom, right? So whatever my max is, I like to make sure I don't hit 75% of that. But
we all know in the real world, sometimes you end up hitting 95, 98% of it. Your fingers are crossed because we all get caught in these remote. Part of the thing with remote folks is you can only control what you can control. And when you're remote, sometimes that remote spot has things beyond your control. And often that thing that's beyond your control is their upload and download speed. But I thought those general numbers you threw out there were good because that gives people a certain comfort level that by basic, what you have in your home or a hotel room should be enough. Should be.
It should be. So, I mean, it all depends on that quality and that pipe, right? And that bandwidth, right? So we're all used to watching Netflix and YouTube and all that stuff's coming down at 3 megabits per second, right? So like realistically, you can set up every single one of your 5 cameras at 3 megabits and you're still set in that limit, right? And then only if you have that bigger pipe, maybe go up to 5 or 10 or whatever.
Cool. I distracted you. Let's get back to this demo. I want to.
No, it's great. No, that's an important one, right? So let's see. I have my outgoing connections. I'll select my Cloud Connect stream, and like before, I have all of the sources that are on my NDI network here at my studio.
Yeah.
Here's that Auburn Hills camera that's coming in, right? So I can receive that and then push it back out, right? So I'll choose the group that I want to stream into. So these are those password protected groups. When we're doing post-production, these are, editor, producer, streaming rooms. When we're doing live PTZ controls over web browsers, that can be a PTZ group, which is really fun. And then all these other ones are just places that I can stream my content into, right? So I'll grab my source, I'll stick that into the group, and I'll press connect. So from here, yeah, pops right up. So what I'll jump into are my Cloud Connect groups. And these are all custom branded, right? So we can add these card images. So let's say I'm doing a commercial or a shoot for Coca-Cola, and the next day I'm doing one for Pepsi. They can each have their own personalized viewing groups and be able to create your content, right?
Yep.
So I'll jump down. I made a fun little group called Pebble Beach, where I have this stream, let's see, going into right here.
Oh, wow.
So this is my live stream of Monterey Bay. You know, sometimes we get some the bugs and butterflies that fly through because it's that season, right? And I have complete control over, you know, what streams that I want to jump into. So here's another stream. Let's see if this one's online. Doesn't look like that guy's online, but again, I can jump back on over to here, and I have all of my content coming in. So we see one that's locked down here, right?
What's that mean?
That means someone's watching it right now.
Okay.
Right. So that's that one-to-one connection, right? So if I give out my, you know, producers a room and I only wanted one person to see that, that stream's getting locked and will get released once it's not being used anymore.
Cool.
Yeah. So that stream is actually right here. So that's Josh's camera. So what I'll do now is, before we were looking at the Auburn Hills machine,
yeah,
right? So that's one location. I'll jump back into Studio Monitor and jump over to Josh's cam. And now we're looking at Silicon Valley, right? And I still have that
cool.
PTZ control. I have zoom, right? Try to chase the cars.
Can you pull out so we
right?
can see latency again? Can you show us both screens again, side by side?
Absolutely.
Cool. We're going to go full screen for this one, guys.
Cool. Let me just switch that input over here really quick in my vMix machine. Let's see.
And guys, be patient. Josh didn't know I was going to throw. I mean, Jake didn't know I was going to throw him this curveball, but I think this is a great way to show the latency.
Let's pop up this one. Let me see if I can switch this source change over here. We have here. I'll just show that again back with the Auburn Hills one because I have that up still, right? So if we jump over here, right? So left and change.
There's virtually no latency between those two.
Yes.
Incredible.
It's insane. And then exactly, this is one machine over here, and that's another one, a decoder on the local network coming back in. So there's a little bit of that delay because we're doing that loop through, but still, it's
very cool. What else do you want to show us? Because we're about a half hour into the show.
Something that's really exciting is that we can do recording on these endpoints, right? So so let's go back over to Auburn Hills in Michigan. And this is this whole point, right? Again, I'm here wherever I am in the world, as long as I have an internet connection into my cloud account, right? I don't even have to have cloud installed on my machine. I can still orchestrate these connections, right? So like, I'm not at Auburn Hills right now, but I still want to make sure that we, you know, record BirdDog John's live stream show, right? So I can grab his, you know, the support camera. I can choose if I want to make that a multi-view and grab a couple streams, right? And I just press save, right? So instantaneously, we'll have our machine start recording that stream as long as it's on the network, show details, and now I'm recording, right? So
awesome.
It's local recording, it's cloud recording, it's I can start the recording on transmission. So, right, like let's say I'm pulling your feed, Gary, into my studio. It can record on your side and my side. So that way, you know, let's say something happens between the internet, between site to site, we have that recorded on both locations.
Now, right now, for an endpoint, I need a computer running software, or I need a TriCaster that could be an endpoint, or a vMix box or what have you. But I think there's something real exciting on the horizon. Now, I don't want to get you fired because we're going to talk about future technology, but I know in talking to you guys at NAB New York, you were talking a little bit about how the cameras will get to be endpoints on your cloud, which kind of makes sense.
Yes.
You just make it,
Right.
if you can find it, if I can see it locally, why can't I see it across? But there's a device that when the first day I saw it, I thought, man, this thing could be the ultimate endpoint. And that's the BirdDog Quad. So talk to me about both those things as much as you can in terms of simplifying and making it just bulletproof, idiot-proof, just set it and forget it kind of thing.
I mean, I thought the exact same thing when that unit came out, from us. I was a BirdDog fanboy before I joined the team, right? So when I saw that quad come out, I said, you know what, this would be great if I could send this anywhere in the world, right? Because I was already using cloud and I was doing the site-to-site connections, but I was like, I just want to send somebody a box, right? And we're getting there, right? So we're started with BirdDog Play. So BirdDog Play is now a Cloud Connect, our WebRTC, and SRT receiver. So I can set up my BirdDog Play in listener mode. I can FedEx it, DHL, UPS. I set everything up ahead of time in my production studio. I push and send that wherever it needs to be, and it's ready to call out and receive my content, right? So I say that we're getting there because it's on our roadmap, and or at least for the quad, because that is exciting, right? Being able to transcode those baseband streams and send those into your production control rooms, right? There are a lot of SRT encoders out there. However, there's nothing that kind of has the ecosystem and the holistic approach that we do here at BirdDog. So
and it's funny you
I
mentioned
want
the
it
Play.
as much as you do.
Basically what you're saying is the Play could be a multi-viewer for any BirdDog Cloud instance, and I could have that same Play that I can send to one director one day, he returns it to the next job. So if I had like a little flock of plays, let's say, 3 or 4 of them, I can be sending them to whoever needs that multi-viewer for that particular week's production or what have you. Get it back, reset it, and be ready to go. Or if there's a guy I know wants it all the time, I can just always know what his play is and find it and send whatever he needs on it.
Exactly. I mean, it's all through port numbers. So let's say, port 5000 is Gary's play. And, today I'm sending him multiview stream X, and tomorrow I'm sending him multiview stream Y. That's as long as it's plugged into the display, you're set.
I'm just truly thinking about having a quad set up where I got one port to be a decoder for my multiview. I got another 2 set up to be sending stuff back to you from cameras that I have. Maybe the other one I'm using through a vMix or to a device, or maybe like an instant replay controller or something.
Or the instant replay or program output or whatever it needs to be, right?
This is just opening up so much stuff now. I know you're really an engineering specialist kind of guy, but how do I... So I want BirdDog Cloud. Like, this is amazing. I want to buy 3 BirdDog cameras. I want to get this going. How does it work? How do I pay? Obviously, it's not free, What's how does that work? What's the general, transaction? Like, how do I get BirdDog Cloud? Obviously, I have to have
you call your broadfield
I need
guys.
At least 2 endpoints, right? I have to have one endpoint and another one. So I have 2 instances of cloud, right?
So for most use cases, right, for this live production development, that's 2 endpoints, right? You have your source and you have your receiver, right? Your remote site and your production control room. For the post-production side of things, you can get away with 1 endpoint, right? We can stream from my content distribution. If it's just content distribution, right, from one spot, that's 1 endpoint to stream out. But for most use cases, you're looking at 2 or 3 locations, right? Because you want to install this on maybe a couple backup machines that are, running live simultaneously, right? Because we all know what happens in live production, right? We need redundancy and backups and things. So usually anywhere from 2 to 5 endpoints is the normal, and you get those through Broadfield, right? So we have a package where you get 2 endpoints, 5 connections, and some data for that WebRTC stuff, and that's easily purchased right through you guys.
Cool. Now, one of the questions that I don't know if it's a question, but it's like people say, I think I would love this stuff, but am I big enough? Does it really make sense for me? This seems like something that's just for the big boys. And I say, No, you could use it to tie, if you had a church and a
No,
couple of satellite churches, you could tie them together. If you were a school district that had two or
exactly.
three high schools, you could tie
Yep,
them together. If you were a conference, you could be using it so that, the visiting team has access to all your cameras that the home team has and other stuff like that. So talk to me about
exactly.
just, do I have to be a big guy to use this, or
No.
who's this for? Is it really for
No, I
everybody?
mean, it really is, Gary, because what we're doing, at least with this portion, is we're really democratizing the whole video cloud remote transport capabilities to everybody, right? I mean, it just takes installing a piece of software and signing up for an account to get your site-to-site streaming. So yeah, I've designed a few churches where you need to stream like from maybe from the sanctuary over to the local community center, right, that needs to have those streams throughout their local facility. So that one pops up all the time. um, Sports and broadcast and all hand corporate meetings, right? Let's say you have office spaces that you want to bring your high quality cameras in, not over Zoom, and something that's a little bit more reliable quality wise. So being able to pull those streams in and have that content be produced remotely or by your team wherever they are, it's incredible. And it's not just for the big names. I mean, yeah, the big names are using this and they're taking it to the next level. I mean, there are some productions where, there's 100 to 150 multi-views and individual sources that are going out. But then there are also streams where I have, my BirdDog bundle of my three P240s, and I need to bring that back into my TriCaster wherever it is,
Yeah.
right? So it literally fits everything.
So, Jake, I have another tech question for you that I meant to ask you
What's up?
earlier. But one of the things we found with IP video in general, the enemy is the firewall in the IT department. Is that
Yes,
still a problem for this, or does SRT
it's
work
not.
us around that?
So there's a product that we have called BirdDog Cloud DX, which is our distribution endpoint, right? For those familiar with firewalls and SRT, it does require ports to be open. Usually that's on one side, and usually that's the production control room because you have access to
Right.
your
Production control room,
IT's
right.
department, right? You have access to it, right? But there are scenarios that even though this is an amazing tool for what the production needs, IT and security and InfoSec say it's not happening, right? And so now you're run into a problem where you can't open ports on the remote site because you don't have access to their network, and your IT department says that's not happening. So what we've done is develop something called BirdDog Cloud DX, which is just another endpoint that we put into the cloud, right? So you can install that in AWS, you can put that in Google, or you can install it locally, maybe in a
Yep.
network DMZ or something, right? So what that does is that becomes the gateway, right? It's an SRT gateway. So I have both sides acting as callers, calling out to that middle DX distribution pool. So what that allows us to do is send one stream up to the group and then pull that down to the endpoint. Instead of it just being a one-to-one loop down, I've been calling it a pool. And that's because I can send that feed to as many different places as I need to afterwards. It doesn't need to go one-to-one. So let's say I have all my BirdDog plays, right? Let's say I have one, I don't know, let's say my one camera on site streaming up to DX. And then I have, Gary, Rich, and Dan all want to see the stream, right? So instead of doing one individual connection that I don't have access to, I can stream it up to DX. DX handles the distribution to all three of you guys, and you guys all can see the feed, and the production control room can see the feed, and the content can be produced.
Jake, so cool. I don't know that we can stump you, but one of the things I want to add is
Yeah.
Jake's a real guy who's really available. So if you are working with your local dealer, or you want to call video guys or something like that, and you've got some
Yep.
stuff that you want to try doing with this, we can get Jake on the phone. He can help design this whole BirdDog Cloud solution for you. And not only can he design it for you for where you are today, he'll get you going so you have the options open for where you want to go
Yep.
tomorrow. And that's one of the beautiful things about this technology. Just like NDI is scalable, BirdDog Cloud is scalable, and we're barely even touching the beginning of this.
Completely.
So very, very cool. So I want to thank you for being on. our show. You'll be getting your own NDI hat. We'll be sending that to you shortly if we didn't give you one at the show. But I want to thank you very much. And I always like to end my shows by giving my guests a chance where I say, the floor is yours. Talk to us about anything you want to talk about to wrap up the show, and take it away.
Awesome. I mean, I'm really, really excited about, the future of remote video production and this whole hybridized workflow. Whether it is NDI or SDI sources on-prem or whatever we need to push those streams. I mean, we're here to support. And like you said, it's that scalability, right? So when I've discovered BirdDog Cloud, I don't know, maybe 3.5, 4 years ago at this point, right? So I've been using this daily. And there are still some production workflows that talking to clients like you guys and seeing what's required and how video production is being redefined. It really gets us going, and we want to be able to support you guys. So, if you're running up at a project where you have your 3 cameras and you have a converter in there and it's like, oh, I can actually send a multi-view out to, my team that wants to view it, or I want to have a personalized viewing room for the agency for the production that I'm working on, feels included and, more holistic in that. It's really, really exciting time for us content creators and the video creators who have the ability to take an idea to that next level. So
Jake,
really,
thank
really
you
fun
so
times.
much. I think we had some great demos, some certainly great conversations. I think people learned a lot. I think a lot of people's heads are exploding like mine is on just how much is out there. But thank you so much for being on the show. I want to remind everyone that this is the last week of NDI November. Tomorrow's show is going to be focusing on education, NDI and education. And then on Thursday, we're going corporate. We're going to have Dr. Cross on. So the NDI November schedule changed. The last show is starting earlier. We're going to come on at 2:30 because Dr. Cross was available at 3 o'clock, and that's where we're going to work around his schedule because he's the big kahuna. So thank you so much for being on the show, Jake. I think you answered a lot of questions. I'm expecting a lot of people who know your email to be sending you more emails, and I'm sure we're going to have customers calling us, and we're going to put them in touch with you. So thank you very much, guys. This is Gary Patan. I'm the host of NDI November, and we're going to roll some ads about what's coming up on the rest of the month and all that good stuff. And stay tuned. Do we have a case study going after this today? No, so that's it. Just please stay tuned, watch the ads and all that stuff, and I'll see you tomorrow. This is Gary. Jake, thank you.
Bye.
NDI Remote Workflows with BirdDog Cloud.
The CRN 500 is an affordable option with flagship specs including dual pixel autofocus with face detection. It also features high-quality 4K 30p through HDMI and Full HD 60p output through 3G SDI, USB, and IP with integrated support for NDI HX and SRT through a 1-inch UHD CMOS sensor and 15 times optical zoom. The CRN 700 ups the ante with dual pixel autofocus with eye detection and 4K 60p video output. This makes it perfect for sports and other high frame rate productions. Output via 12G SDI, 3G SDI, HDMI, and IP with integrated support for NDI HX and SRT. Power with PoE++ and easily integrate into any production environment.
With JVC, using your NDI camera couldn't be easier. NDI features plug-and-play operation, connecting cameras such as our PTZs to your network with a single cable. Using NDI technology, our products come with maximum compatibility in mind. Whether it's the big game or the big meeting, JVC knows performance matters.
I subscribe to a couple shared publications on technology. So going through my email one day, I came across the Aspire program. I called my pastor, I told him what I saw. I looked at it, I said, that might be good, somebody could win that. The NDI system, it's actually great because, even with the setup, there is less cabling. And that's a plus. That's something that, when you think about one cable that's handling power, the network capabilities, and your connectivity is great. And then I was able to use that as well to get into the cameras.
NDI features plug-and-play operation, connecting cameras such as RPTZs to your network with a single cable. Using NDI technology, our products come with maximum compatibility in mind. JVC is a recognized leader using NDI in the industry. NDI-enabled devices like JVC's new PTZ NDI camera exponentially increase the video sources available for storytellers, creating efficiencies and opportunities for NDI and for JVC customers who can now enjoy the benefits and freedom that IP content brings.
And this offer, this gift from JVC really has been a blessing. It more or less confirmed a lot of what I was talking about, especially with the PTZ cameras, how easy it is to work, how it can work for our system, how you don't need that many people to operate it, and you can still put out a product that matches some of the churches that probably would have invested $500,000 in the system. Make the investment, take the leap, sit with a professional person who understands the medium, who understands broadcasting. Select a system that's cost effective, that can grow over time. Invest in that system. We want to trip. Getting feedback from church members when they come and say that their friends who are at home are now tuning in and recognizing that there's a change, there's some type of improvement in the production. We hope that we are able to retain those folks and get them to spread the message from the church.
We give you our hearts, we give you our minds, we give you our time, we give you our talents.
I've been a fan of JVC since 1978. And I know that this is a joke within myself. Eventually I coined the phrase, nothing comes between me and my JVC.
Hi everyone, this is Judy from KillerView. Actually this is our second time to be part of NDI November. In the past year, we actually have announced a lot of NDI new products, which includes our Cube R1 recorder, the N5 and N6, the full functional NDI converter that can support all NDI protocols, encoding and decoding all in one, as well as our E3 and D350, which can support NDI HX for encoding and decoding, while at the same time it can support the other protocols based on H.264 and H.265. R1 NDI recorder is a turnkey solution for NDI recording. As you mentioned, it can support up to 9 channels of the recording simultaneously. And what's more, this device is a kind of NDI recorder that will be compatible with all NDI formats, no matter it's NDI high bandwidth, NDI HX2 or 3, or any resolution up to 4K, coming from any different video resources. And from the device, you will be able to see that we can easily just preview all the videos. You can just set up the layouts, and also we have the physical buttons to start, stop the recording, or we can even playback while recording. And what's important, is even we can output the NDI resource while you are playing back. And we got 2 SSDs. That means you will be able to support the local recording, and we have the backup solution as well. So for the N5 and the N6, this is actually the most competitive NDI converters on this market, because it can support both NDI high bandwidth and the HX2, HX3 for encoding and decoding in the same box. So that means no matter you have any kind of video sources, inputs, in whatever NDI formats, then it can easily just get back to the baseband SDI or HDMI. Or if you have the videos inputs and no matter what kind of NDI flavors you want, just choose M5 and N6. It can perfectly meet into your workflow, so you don't need to even think about what's the video source, what's your output. And both of the devices got the video inputs and the loop through, and also we have the displays to show the status, as well as getting it as a kind of a tally. So all those kind of functions are all included and very good price. So yeah, the E3 and the D350 actually the products that can work together as a kind of pairing for video transmission. The thing is, the E3 can not only support NDI, but also we have included like SRT, RTMP, RTSP, and quite a lot of the other protocols based on H.264 and H.265. Most importantly, the E3 can support 4K HDMI inputs as well as the 3G SDI inputs simultaneously. So that means you got two inputs, and you can easily bring both of the video inputs into IP streams, either in NDI or in the other protocols with SRT for remote transmission. And what's important, you can even mix the HDMI and SDI together as a kind of picture-in-picture, picture-back-picture video as another video source. And the same as what I mentioned for the N5, N6, we will be able to got the display to show the status. We got the touch screen to change all the parameters, while also the display can even work as a tally. Yeah, and also very cost effective as well. And also I would like to talk about the D350, which actually is a kind of affordable and reliable decoder that we can easily bring almost all types of the IP protocols you can imagine, including full NDI, into the decoder, and we can get back to 3G SDI as well as 4K HDMI outs. And not only for decoding, the D350 can even work as a multiviewer, so you will be able to bring all kinds of the IP streams in, and on the web UI you will be able to see all those videos in the multi-view, and you can select whatever video source to output. The other functions, even we will be able to add the overlay, we will be able to switch between different video sources seamlessly. So altogether, the E3 and the D350 will be a kind of perfect solution for your IP video transmission, not only for NDI, but also all kinds of IP protocols, and is very, very reliable and affordable.
So if you're looking for an ecosystem that's easy to use, easy to set up, and future-proof to engage your students or audience, the Panasonic Connect solutions is what you want to consider. One of the strengths of our PTZ cameras for a classroom or corporate room is a really accurate voice-triggered auto-tracking. Built-in auto-tracking will be available in July on our AWUE 40, AWUE 50, and then in November, we'll deliver it on our AWUE 80, all part of our premium series PTZs.
Introducing the PTZ Optics Move 4K, the 4K PTZ camera for under 2K. The Move 4K is a 4K PTZ camera that comes in 12x, 20x, and 30x models. Every Move 4K has the same ports on the back of the unit, and something that we like to call total connectivity. The Move 4K has auto tracking capabilities built directly into the camera. No software needed. Now available at videoguys.com. Hey everybody, my name is James Fresca. I'm a video production specialist here with NDI November, and I am super excited to introduce you to Paul Richards from PTZ Optics, and he's going to tell us all about the SuperJoy and some of the great features that it can do. So, Paul, why don't we throw it your way and you tell us all these great features?
Hey everybody, welcome to another cool episode of NDI November. Happy to be here. I have a little presentation coming through NDI to my producer that I can show you guys. But what I'm going to talk about today is the PTZ Optics SuperJoy. So what we have here is the NDI joystick controller. I believe it is really the certified NDI joystick controller, meaning it can discover any NDI camera on your network, and it can send commands through HTTP and CGI to NDI devices. So what I'll show you today, and I'll do a little live demo, is automatically discovering any NDI camera on your network. With the SuperJoy, this joystick will also control any Sony camera, any Panasonic camera, and pretty much any PTZ camera that uses Sony Visca over IP. So BirdDog, Marshall, there's a long list. Honestly, almost any PTZ camera this will control, including security cameras via OnVIF. So this is, our engineers have put so much time into this to control almost any system. And to look at it in a diagram here, we've got serial cameras that are daisy chained together. So this can control serial cameras. It can control IP cameras, whether those are using Sony. I'm also going to show Panasonic support today, but also any camera that supports NDI HX3 should be able to be controlled by the SuperJoy. Even cameras coming in over the internet. So down in the bottom right here, I'm going to show you today a camera coming using NDI bridge through the public internet, not even on the same local area network, on a separate local area network, coming in to the PTZ Optics SuperJoy. Another cool thing about the SuperJoy is it's got an HDMI output, so you can see the video of this device on a screen as well. So this is actually showing the NDI bridge, and I'm going to open that up in a moment here, going from one wide area network to another, and working over anywhere in the world to control PTZ cameras. So it's really cool. Excited to show that. On this joystick, we also have 4 custom buttons. So those custom buttons, and there's actually a 5th with the button on the top of the joystick controller here, can send commands directly to any device on your local area network that supports HTTP. So on a NewTek TriCaster or a vMix system, you can send a command to start recording or start streaming. It also supports super presets, which I think we'll take a moment at. But before I get into the super advanced settings, it also has a basic mode. And, a lot of, this is a quote from one of our church customers, a lot of their team members aren't that tech savvy, and they love the SuperJoy for its basic mode. But for those of pro users on the other side of the world that are using dynamic DNS and controlling, there's actually an API for the SuperJoy, and John Mahoney is one of those folks. This SuperJoy can be taken very far into networking and production. So you can really realize your vision, even if you're just getting started with a couple NDI cameras, or if you're trying to control a couple old security cameras, an NDI camera, you've got a legacy Panasonic, maybe even serial cameras. It can really support it all. So in a moment here, I'm really excited about this. I'm going to show you the SuperJoy controlling a camera from over NDI bridge. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And the idea here is that your entire ecosystem could be controlled from the SuperJoy. We can send commands to your vMix system for that recording and streaming. We can send commands to decoders and NDI devices, and then of course your PTZ cameras. And I mentioned that HDMI output, it's a low latency video feed from the joystick to any monitor so that you can see the camera you're controlling. This is really good as your team grows and you want to show, more cameras having the capability. Another feature that we've been showing a lot with the SuperJoy is because it supports HTTP commands, we can turn off and on auto tracking. Which is nice because a lot of people are starting to use PTZ cameras for controlling them, but then deciding, hey, I think I want to turn this camera into automatic control mode, which we can do with the click of a button. Even that top of that joystick button can be set up, and I'll show that in a minute. Now, something I'm also going to show in my live demo area is a super preset. And what that is a single button that can move up to, I think it's 7 cameras at the same time. And so, for example, you might have, and this is a house of worship, but this applies to almost any situation. If you have 4 or 5 areas of the stage, with a single button, you can have all your PTZ cameras zoom into there. So you might have a left stage wide, you might have a left zoomed in, you might have a center shot. You can automatically move all your cameras to the scene that you'd like with a single super preset. So very valuable. We got a lot of customers using that as well. So I'm excited about this. On November 28th, we'll be doing a webinar where you can actually win a SuperJoy. So check out our website and our social medias for that. But now what I'd like to do is show you guys NDI Bridge, which I have running now. Now here's my NDI Bridge, and I've got it running right here. And this is bridging. You can see I'm receiving, if I might want to zoom into this really quickly a little bit. I'm receiving 5 megabits, 7 megabits per second over the internet. That is where I'm getting this video over here. So if I zoom out, you can see I'm using NDI Studio Monitor to control this camera here. So this is a video source. And how did I connect to this video source? Well, first of all, you set up NDI Bridge, which I'm running here as the host. And then on the far end, we clicked the join button and we joined our NDI Bridge here. And basically the public IP address and just has a port number, and you port forward that traffic coming to my computer here, and now NDI Bridge is working beautifully. So with the SuperJoy, what I can do is I can log into the SuperJoy. The SuperJoy has an IP address. I log into it, and I can search my entire network for all NDI cameras. And you can see I've got a lot of them. Guilty as charged, right? But one of these here is different from the other. That's because one of these is coming in over the bridge. And there it is. There it is right there. So these have the dash bridge on them, and that means they are coming through the bridge. And so all you got to do is click add, and you can add PTZ cameras from anywhere in the world and control them. So what I'm going to do here, I've already added it, and I can double check that by looking at camera 6 here is coming in via NDI. All right. The IP address is different from my local area network. It's all the way. Actually, the IP address is actually, I think, the same IP address as my machine. And then now with my SuperJoy, I can control this camera. So I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, it looks like there's someone over there setting up a conference. And you can see I'm not using this PTZ area here, right? I'm using my SuperJoy to control the camera from the far end. So this really opens remote production up for a lot of different scenarios where I can control a PTZ camera from anywhere in the world. So that's what I wanted to show you today is the PTZ Optics SuperJoy, all of the features. Some of the things that we talked about is the basic mode that it offers. We offer a matrix mode, and then we offer those custom buttons here, which we have set up to trigger auto tracking. But you can actually set these up to do those super presets where you can have up to, looks like up to 7 cameras. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cameras and a custom command sent with a single super preset button. So really powerful stuff. Thanks for letting me come on today and show this off, what the PTZ Optics SuperJoy is capable of It's really one of the most advanced joysticks available today. It's $899. It is the key to really unifying your NDI productions and bringing everything together into one control platform.
Well, thanks for showing us that, Paul. I really like the SuperJoy controller, and we use one in our studio, so thank you for showing me some of those more advanced features.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, James.
All right, see you later.
See ya.